Alright, this is Unit 9, Lesson 6. You have two learning targets. I can divide circles and name the fractional parts, and I can interpret a circle graph. We're going to start by reviewing the parts of a circle that we learned yesterday. So if I have a circle, the center point we call the center. The mark that is from the center to the outside edge, just halfway across the circle, is called the radius. The radius is only halfway across. If this line goes all the way across, the circle, it should go through that center point here. Then we call that our diameter. And the outside edge, let's go with red. This outside edge here is called the circumference. So, and a reminder to find circumference. Circumference equals pi times diameter. And we know that pi equals approximately 3.14. So if my diameter of a circle, if the diameter is 3 centimeters, then I know the circumference equals 3 times pi. Now if you rounded pi to 3, because that's the closest whole number would be 3, then I know 3 times 3 is 9, so circumference would equal 9 centimeters. So that means the outside edge is 9 centimeters around. If I had a circle and the diameter was 7 millimeters, then I know my circumference equals 7 millimeters times pi. So 7 times 3 would be 21. So my circumference, or the distance around the circle, would equal 21 millimeters. Alright, next we're going to look at some circles. So if I have one whole circle and I split it right down the center, what am I making? Well, I'm making halves. So I have 1/2 and 1/2, which equals 1 whole. If I have a circle and I split it down the center and across the center, now I have 4 parts, which means I have 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4. That equals, when I add those up I get 4/4, which is also equal to 1 whole. Okay. Same here, if I have 1/2 plus 1/2, that equals 2 halves, which is also equal to 1. Whenever you have the same number on top as you do on the bottom, that equals 1. That is the same if I have a circle. This time, I'm going to split it into 8 pieces. So now I have 1/8, 1/8, 1/8. And that all equals 8/8, which equals 1 whole. All right, we're going to look at page 359, which has some pizzas that are split into pieces. We can divide a whole circle into equal parts. We can show this with a round pizza. What part of the whole pizza does one slice show? So what part does one slice show? So it's looking for a fraction. So if this is one piece, what's the fraction for that one piece? That would be 1/4. All right, go ahead and see if you can do number 2 and number 3 on your own. Then mark the largest part with an L and the smallest part with an S. Place a check mark besides the parts of the equal size. So if we look at number 4, I see that all 4 pieces are equal. So I'm going to put a check mark next to each of these pieces because they are all equal. Now when I look at number 5, I see that they're not equal pieces. So this one I'm going to mark the smallest piece and I'm going to mark the largest piece. So this onion piece looks like it is the smallest, and this cheese piece appears to be the biggest. It looks like it's a little bit bigger than the pepperoni. So I'm going to put an L for large next to that piece. All right, go ahead and do number 6 on your own. All right, so how can you tell the relative sizes of the parts of the pizzas in exercise 5 and 6? Well, you can tell by comparing them to one another. You can tell which pieces are smaller and which pieces are larger. All right. Go ahead, raise your hand to get a star on this page. You just have 3 problems to have checked, 2, 3, and 6. And then we're moving on to the next page. We're going to look at circle graphs next. So a circle graph can show parts of any kind of whole. So Cleon gets $10 from his parents each week. The circle graph shows how Cleon spent his money last week. All right, so if we have a circle and we know the whole thing, everything in here together equals $10. This graph is going to show how that money is split up. So what do the sizes of the parts of the circle tell about how Cleon spent his money? So the larger the part, the more money spent. So if we were to look over here, the larger part, so I see that school lunches is what he spent the most money on. So if we go to number 9, it said, on what did Cleon spend the most money on? Well, that would be school lunches, because that's the biggest piece. Oops. And what did he spend the least money on? So least money would be the smallest part. So that looks like it would be other. Because they are the largest and smallest pieces. Number 10, if Cleon spent $1 on other things, $1, how much did he spend on school lunches? All right, so one thing you want to think about is this is half of the circle. So if I split right here, that's half. Well, I know half of the circle. Half of the circle is $5 because I know the whole thing is 10. So if I know that this other is 1, what would school lunches be? That must be $4. So he spent half on school lunches and other. So $1 plus $4 equals $5. Alright, so next I want to know how much did Cleon spend on snacks last week. So now we're looking at here. So here's half. If I were to split this into quarters, it would look more like this. So I know snacks is a little less than half. So if half of this is 5, what would half of 5 be? That'd be about $2.50. Well, I know snacks is a little less than that. So snacks is going to be about $2. So if that's $2, what would entertainment be then? For a movie night. So what is the probability the most Cleon could have spent to the school movie night with his friends last week for entertainment? The most he could have spent was about $3 because 2 plus 3 equals 5. All right, we have one more page to look at. Now we're going to compare. So this graph shows $10 and this graph shows $10. So this one's 10 and this one's 10. So the whole for both graphs is $10. So this one shows last week's $10 and this one shows this week's $10. Then your job is to answer 14, 15, and 16 on your own. Do the best that you can using your knowledge. Remember, half of the circle would be 5. So you know these two together equals 5. Okay? Use what you know about fractions. When you're finished, you're going to get a star on this page, and then we're moving on to homework. Alright, so we have Luis is in 4th grade. Her brother Emilio is in high school. These graphs shows how they spend their day. So the part with the sleeping has stripes. So this would be her sleeping. And this is Emilio's sleeping. So instead of having colors, you have patterns. You're going to compare these notes. Who spends more hours eating or snacking? So eating or snacking is the checkered. So does Luisa or Emilio? Who has the bigger piece? That would be Luisa. All right. Number 6 says, on a separate sheet of paper, make a circle graph to show how you spend your time on a typical school day. Then write 2 questions to compare your day with Luisa or Emilio's. So you're going to make your own circle graph and show how you spend your day. How much time of your day do you spend sleeping? Okay. And then on the back side, we have a bar graph. Okay, so these are areas, show the area of some countries in Africa, so the area in square kilometers. So Botswana has 600,000 square kilometers. I got that because if I go straight down, I see that 600,000. Now, the ones that go halfway in between, such as this one, that one's going to be 750,000. Okay. All right, so you're going to look at the bar graphs. Which